So I wanted to do another deck profile, but I wasn't sure which one I should do, but then I realized here's a deck that I haven't even shown you that I have. So this is actually the first deck that I ever made when I was getting back into the game. I want to say like 3 or so years ago. And as you can tell by this, this is Ancient Gears as best as I could make it. It was a lot of work to get it to this point. I am happy with where it is. Obviously, it's not perfect, and this is purely based on like my playstyle. I want to really emphasize that part. But I do enjoy this deck a lot. And yeah, let's get into it. I have had some very casual success with this. It is a very fun deck. When it hits hard, it hits very hard. But it's Ancient Gears, so it has benefited from some legacy support though, so I do appreciate that. So I will be going over the main deck now. We have 44 main deck and 15 extra. So we'll start with the monsters. Right off the bat, I think I'll just get the 3-offs out of the way, I guess. So 3 times Hunting Hound, specifically because burn for 600, and it's just an Ancient Gear fusion support, so that's as good a reason as any. Ancient Gear Wyvern, because it's literally one summoned search. Like, I mean, why wouldn't you do that at that point? And 3 Frame. Frame is specifically the combo off of another card that we have, but I really do think it's a fantastic card to have in the deck. Oh, I had one more 3-off, I forgot already. Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. The way that I play the deck, I personally like keeping it at 3. I know there are some people that prefer to play with less, but I really do like the card. So as for the other cards, we have 2 Ancient Gear Ultimate Pounds and 2 of the original Ancient Gear Golem. We have 2 of Ancient Gear Box. So this is often the card that you would search off of Wyvern to get into frame, so you would have many cards in the hand, basically, or many Ancient Gears in the hand, I should say. So this is the part where I would have had another set of 2-offs, which would have been Infinitrack Anchor Drill, which was the one that special summons, but I don't have that, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I would have ran 2, and it would have helped to play into the extra deck plays that I have for the deck, because it does focus on some Xyz and some Link, so it would have been nice to have. So for the 3-offs, to assist with the fusion aspect of the deck, which is, I'd say, the primary focus, I run 1 copy of Prisma, which I think is 1 should be more than enough, considering how many ancient... I think there's only 1 fusion monster that I run that even requires specific names, or just as an Ancient Gear in general, but considering what my fusions are, I'm perfectly fine with running just 1. I have 1 Gearspring Spirit, easy special summonable rank 8. Yeah, I think it's a good enough card. And lastly, because it's every single card that you've seen other than these 2 are Earth. So naturally, we have to play 1 of True King Lithosagym, the Disaster. Banish 3 separately named cards from your opponent's extra deck. I mean, why wouldn't you run it at that point? And it's another level 9. Sorry, not rank 9. Going into the spell cards now, we have 3 Geartown. I shouldn't have to explain that one. It's an Ancient Gear deck. You're going to need 3 Geartowns. In addition to 3 Geartowns, you're going to need 3 Ancient Gear Catapults. Right there, it's kind of like how for Dragon Links, you basically want to have Rocket Tracer or any Rocket plus Abs Router or Noctivision for full combo as it was. That right there is your full combo, more or less. We run 2 Fortress. It's more or less in the same category as Catapult, but the way that it works is a bit more different, so I just keep it. 1 Ancient Gear Castle. That's just purely personal preference. I just like the card from way back when. We also run 1 Ancient Gear Workshop, purely for the sake of recursion. And now for the fusion cards. We already do run 3 Hunting Hound, so fusion support isn't necessarily required, but I do like keeping it, so in that case, obviously we'll play the Archetypal Fusion, Ancient Gear Fusion. This is probably the single most expensive card in the deck. Not counting Fortress though. Fortress is like a common that's worth $10, which sucks. But Fusion is very, very pricey. I got lucky with the limited edition one, not the one from Ancient Millennium, but that's a money card right there. We've got one Polymerization to help go off of Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound, Power Bond because of course, and Overload Fusion. Only one copy, but there's a very good reason why we do run it. The rest are just more one-offs, but I may as well get into them. Limiter removal because it's a machine deck. Terraforming for deck thinning, and also you really do want to get Geartown as soon as you can. I choose personally to run one trade-in because we do run level 8s. Sometimes you don't want them, but if they're in the graveyard, you can at least, plus off of it. Mystical Space Typhoon because if you don't have Catapult or any other way of destroying Geartown, right there. And also you can use it to disrupt your opponent's plays by destroying Geartown and having Geartown summon a Reactor Dragon or whatever the case may be. The last two spell cards that I run are Iron Call and Iron Draw. Draw for a plus, and then Iron Call for just easy setup. So I do play 4 traps. These aren't necessarily the traps you would expect, but I do play them. Archetype-wise, we play 1 Ancient Gear Reborn. It's a good setup for bringing a wall back, especially in regards to one of the fusion monsters. And lastly, we have Cross-Dimensional Duel. This is more of a win more card, but I do love having it, especially because I'm a sucker for GX references. 1 Mirror Force, just because it's very funny to see your opponent, have their entire board lose to an old school Mirror Force. And again, because it's a machine deck, we play Scrap-Iron Scarecrow. Not that it has anything to do with the machine, but I think this is a good card. I've made some people very upset over the fact that I ran this, but yeah. So that would be the main deck. So as you can see, it is a bit stacked towards the monster side, especially because I don't run until I do get the copies of Anchor Drill. That's more or less how I keep my Ancient Gear setup. I don't really like to run anything different in it, only because it seems to ruin the way that the deck flows, I guess. Ancient Gears don't have versatility, at all, but they do work well with, very generic support cards, so I'd say that's as good as it gets. So now we will go over the extra deck. You know what? I will get the actual Ancient Gear stuff out of the way. It seems to be easier to do so. So we will start with 2 copies of Howitzer. I used to run him at 3, but then I realized that was a bit too excessive. Howitzer, a level 8. It also helps with some rank 8 plays. And, unaffected by card effects, that's pretty friggin' boss. Mind you, it only has 1,000 attack, 1,800 defense, so it is summoned as a stopgap, especially because once it's destroyed, or once it's sent from... Yeah, it has to be destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard. But if it is, you get to float into any Ancient Gear from the deck, regardless of summoning condition, which is really good considering some of them can't be special summoned for some reason. I run 2 of the original Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem because I don't think I need to justify that one. I just think it's a fantastic card. This used to be the single most expensive card in the deck. So I have the original super rare Megaton Golem and then the ultra rare reprint Megaton Golem. But again, I run 2 of them. It's a good card, especially if you do use the copious amounts of ultimate pounds or regular Ancient Gear Golems, which is another reason why I chose to run Prisma in the deck, so that you can have more attacks with it and all that stuff. The reason I run Overload Fusion, Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, yeah, this is absolutely the be all end all. It's also partially why I run Limiter Removal. It's unaffected by any form of back row. Monster effects are the only things, and it disables monster effects, I believe. Yeah, your opponent's monsters cannot activate their effects during the battle phase. As long as you can get this onto the field, it's a pretty good OTK enabler. And to assist with some of its plays, we run 2 copies of Ballista. Ballista is probably some of the best legacy support. I'm actually surprised I didn't get a Link monster earlier, but I'm very happy with what they got. I think it's a fantastic card. We have 5 more cards left. I will go over them right now. We have 3 rank 8s. So the first is Googly Eyes Jump Dragon. I'm not necessarily attached to this card. I have it because it's a rank 8 machine that can become a 4K beater, but it's not an absolute staple for the deck. The one that I do prefer running in the deck is number 68, Sanafond the Sky Prison. I think this is a much better fit for the deck. In regards to Googly Eyes Drum Dragon, one of the cards that I was considering, albeit very briefly, was number 87, Queen of the Night. Requires 3 level 8 monsters. It's a 3200 beat stick that does have some decent effects, but also I don't think it's necessary because I chose to run number 38 instead, 6838. Hope Harbinger, Binger, Dragon Titanic. That's a mouthful of a name. But a fantastic effect on it, and I think it's a good card. So in addition, with Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, Megaton Ancient Gear Golem, and the Reactor Dragons, and True King Lithosagym, there are 2 very special cards that I run. So the first I chose is Jormungandr, Generator Boss of Eternity. Partially because I think it's not its effect. Its effect is fantastic, but I love its design, and I think it's a card that really does, it speaks for itself. And it's a very good stopgap for other plays that you want to make before you get a chance to make them. And lastly, it's another rank 9. I'm surprised it wasn't hit in the December ban list, all things considered, with the virtual world shenanigans, but it needs no introduction. 2 or more level 9 monsters, so you can pretty much just stack it any way you see fit. And that's pretty much it. I've had end boards that consisted of 1 Chaos Giant, 1 Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, 1 copy of... I think I chose Jormungandr instead of True King, and then I think I had Reactor Dragon in defense position. But this deck can make some really powerful boards. But yeah, that'll be all for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.